Hi, this is Angie Dollar. I'm a QHHT practitioner and a Beyond Quantum Healing hypnosis practitioner. And I'm here with Christy Campbell. I'm going to read her bio, introduce her. She was born in 1976, a pivotal year for super soldiers. She tells us about her experiences in Montauk, opening portals, and how she began remembering her erased past life memories or alternate reality memories. We can talk about that, how we're talking about secret space programs, those kind of things. She also does psychic card readings with people, and you can find her on Facebook or connect with her at her YouTube, at her Gmail, her YouTube, Facebook, and we do have her Gmail posted here. Christy, anything else to share about that, about what you do or
Yeah.
anything?
I do I'm a Karuna Reiki master. So it kind of infuses that energy. People notice that we start feeling kind of the heat in the during the readings and all that too, during my card readings. So I kind of sync with their energy and we're both getting the Reiki in a way too during the card reading. So and then I also the readings are kind of to help people to search for some of the programs that they've been in, or their star family. And I also do my light language on the cards. So it kind of gives you an infusion of that energy as well, you know. So even though it can't be translated into English, but it's like an infusion of and it's all these drawings and all the writing is it's done when I'm like in a channeled state, you know. It's like channeled from my higher self. And then during the hypnosis session, it is my higher self who I was speaking with, Anara, and she's a Lyran. So that's kind of the energy that it's from as well. So it's like my star family, but it's like a whole galactic council of star beings that I'm getting the information from. You know, it's like a many star races, and mostly though it's a lot of praying mantis and the grays and Arcturians and Andromedans, you know. So it's kind of a mixture of that and some reptilian, but I don't draw them as much as maybe I might connect with the mantis more, I think so. And then different kinds of grays too. They're not all bad, you know. So it's like good and bad in all the beings. So the grays that I connect with are um well, in the programming and stuff it's more of the negative, but with the writing and stuff it's called the Asgard, is the more their higher dimensional grays. And then the mantis are more of, they're from everywhere, really. They're like Syrian and Andromedan. They're from all over, but I have a mantis guide and a tall gray guide. So that's kind of where I get a lot of my information and all that too, is from my guides, you know. So it's kind of a whole bunch of energy from the alien races is what I help people find.
Okay, so it sounds like you're connecting with a lot of different places when you're doing the readings, which
Mhm.
sounds interesting.
Mhm.
Um, so, what we're talking about today in this situation, this recording, is a hypnosis session that I did for you, and we wanted to come back and kind of discuss what you felt around it. It seemed like at the end of it, you were just holding a whole lot of energy, and you wanted to talk about it after a few days or a week or so. So,
Yeah.
what are you feeling now? What was coming to you over the past week regarding the session?
Seems like my dreams were more like movies, you know. So I think that they were releasing a lot of stress because it was more high stress dreams of um the situations that uh like being like at a drive through or something and then having to rush or they didn't have the food, you know. So every dream scenario part it was like a long movie though, because it was really stressful. So I feel like through my dreams I'm releasing a lot of the stress that from my daily 3D life, you know, like it's opening up for me. And I've had some nights where I couldn't sleep very well too. So um I just kept waking up and I don't know, but I was dreaming, and one night I even dreamed that it felt like it was more like a movie again, but it was more of a stressful situation of being like intimate with someone, and then they turn on me, and then I have to move out of their apartment, and then I have two kids and then two cats that I gotta find and pack up all my stuff and move out. So that's kind of stressful. So I feel like it's a lot of stress release
So do
that's
you feel
been going
like
on
you
in me.
were like in that situation? Do you feel like you were going into a lifetime? Like maybe the hypnosis opened you up to dreaming about a different lifetime?
Well, it was a person that I know from a long time ago,
Oh,
that
okay. So
yeah,
it brought
but
up something from
so
this lifetime.
so it might be that, or it might be a screened memory as well of like an abduction, because I did feel like my ovaries was kind of crampy and stuff that night, that night. And then I was thinking, you know, like it felt like it was gonna be like maybe taken some for the hybridization or something like that, because I did dream of having two little girls, like a 1 and a 2-year-old little girls, and then I was having to put their shoes on and stuff, and pack them up, and pack up all my stuff and leave. So but it was but he was making me feel like unworthy, so that was in the hypnosis session of a dominant male, and then them making me feel unworthy, so that was in the hypnosis session.
Okay, so
So
the dream, so that situation was in the hypnosis session because I don't remember that. Was
yeah,
that,
the
but it was someone you knew?
of dominant men. You know, in my life, I always pick more dominant men because they're more direct in how they communicate, but sometimes they communicate in a way that hurts my feelings or says things to me that are that I don't really want to feel or absorb, but I do, because I'm sensitive. Saying something like you're pathetic, or whatever, you know what I mean, saying something like they would say to a regular person, and that other person wouldn't really necessarily feel that kind of thing, or absorb it. But in that situation where that was happening, being intimate, and then he would say that, and then so that was kind of like a hit, it I felt it. So I was
So
like,
you,
I'm out of here. So I
so-
packed up and I broke up with him in the dream, you know?
okay, so you felt like the hypnosis was bringing up stuff like those controlling men, something to release
Yeah,
and let
just
go of.
releasing it, yeah, and not absorbing, um, the what they what they say is just on them, That's just how they are with everybody, and I don't have to absorb that kind of, negative comment, or their behavior, So
Mhm.
that's
Yeah.
with the programming too, like all this the George Bush Senior and stuff too, how he's the same way. He would leave comments like that, and it's just the same energy. It's that same energy.
You mentioned you mentioned that you felt like something maybe being taken from your ovaries
Mhm.
during that as well. So do you feel like you've been taken up to a ship and they've taken your eggs, that kind of thing, and had you part of the hybrid program? I don't remember if we've talked about that. I talked about that in one of my books that I feel like I was definitely part of the program.
Yeah, I'm definitely part of many of the hybridization programs.
Mm,
How they do it is they have your energy signature, targeted, so they can induce like a your hormones, so you start to produce an egg, or however that is, for women. Um, even if you, I guess, even if you aren't I don't know how they do it if you can't produce an egg, you know? maybe they stimulate it and make it happen. I'm not sure on that, but I know that there are women who don't have their periods anymore, and then they still know that they have hybrid children, that's still occurring. So they can take it. No, it doesn't. They take it energetically. They just kind of, it's more like a holographic kind of thing that they would come when I'm sleeping, and then probably like my astral body, and then it's most likely going to have like an implant or a tag on my ovary area, like the reproductive organs, um, where they are able to take genetic material to create more of their more hybrid races or species, or trade my DNA, So, um, but most likely it's to, um, for the breeding program too as well, So there's many programs. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw different things I talked about in the book, like taking the eggs to mix with different DNA, different
Hmm.
species of ETs. I even saw them taking the DNA, taking the eggs from the ovaries to do other things as well, to use it even as food, which I know people don't want to hear about. They want to just think, oh, it's also great and lovely mixing DNA to come up with a better, being. But, there were different reasons that the eggs were taken, is what I was seeing.
Yeah, because these these they would take the genetic stock, and then they like keep it in containers or so, say, and then they're going to take other people who have abilities and gifts and use those abilities and gifts and mix it together with something else, or with their alien DNA, and then create something of, like a super soldier, or another being that has these abilities of both people, so
Someone's
it's,
asking, is this live? Yes, this is live.
yeah.
Yeah, so thanks for coming on. I see a comment from Chicory Blue. It says, gosh, your dream is so relatable. And then
Yeah.
Ray True Color 3 is saying, hi, good afternoon. Is this live?
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I think with the thing with the dream and the men who are controlling, and of course, women can be controlling as well in
Mhm.
relationships. Part of it is
Mhm.
like realizing a lot of this stuff so we can let it go and take our power
Yeah.
back.
Yeah. Yeah. And I felt a lot of sadness this week too. I don't know if it's just an energetic thing, like everybody's feeling it, but it's kind of like a ups and downs all week long too. So I don't know if that had anything to do with the session. But I've noticed that this week, kind of just going through emotions,
Hmm.
kind of tired, and then needing to take a nap, and um so just kind of ups and downs. Think it's just more balancing out my I don't know if it's I don't know if that has anything to do with the session or not. Just feels like
I,
I'm trying to learn to balance myself.
I think part of it probably does, at least part of it probably does have to do with the session,
Mhm.
because at the end of the session you were like, no, I can't talk right now. And then I reached out to you during the week and you're like, no, I can't. I need a few more
Oh
days.
yeah. Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
and the sessions can affect us like that. It brings things up that maybe
Mhm.
you already know. I mean, you already know things about demanding men and some other things, but it really can bring things more to the surface, I think.
Yeah, I
Um,
kind of am guarded a bit, when to just to I like to process, and then to come up with like I process things, and then kind of I'm trying to understand it myself, and then I can describe what it is. But with the week and stuff like that, then that allowed me more time to to go through the things, and dreams mostly. It's mostly dream time.
yeah.
Yeah.
So Chicory Blue said, in recent days, I've been re-listening to some videos that were posted over a year ago. Have you two listened to Ashley, Aishe, on Gabby Chong, CHOONGS channel? also on Aquarius Rising Africa. Have you listened to that person? I don't know who they're
I
talking
don't know
about.
who that is. I had never heard
Yeah,
of them.
I'm gonna have to go look that up and, see what the channel is about.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, so in this recording, we're talking about the hypnosis that I did for Christy a week ago. So if someone's just pulling this up, I would suggest going back and listening to the recording of the hypnosis. I wanted to get to so Nicole Aubrey, who who she wrote a book, and
Mm-hmm.
some of my hypnosis sessions with her that I did for her are in her book, and it's called
Oh, okay.
Aubrey Awakening. Aubrey, I'm sorry. I'm sorry,
Yep.
Aubrey. You're gonna have to post your
Mm-hmm.
book. It's like
Mm-hmm.
Aubrey Awakening.
Yeah,
I
it's Aubrey
can't remember.
Awakening.
Yeah. Um, so I did a session like this with Aubrey as well that I'll be posting. And so not Aubrey, Nicole. I have a friend named Aubrey. Um, Nicole, I did a session with her that I'll be posting. So she asked about your session. She listened to the recording of the hypnosis and she said, well, what about the celebration at the end? You talked about a celebration. So
Do
do
you
you
remember what
remember
that
that?
was?
Because I'm wondering if it's the thing of just breaking out, like we're breaking this down, because I feel like we talked about that in the hypnosis, that all of this is coming out, people are waking up. So,
Celebration.
yeah, you said something about a celebration at the end of your session.
Was there celebration? I don't recall what celebration was. It was like
I'm,
all at the very end when, it's like I mean everybody, all the beings and stuff were there, behind
mhm,
me, and
uh-huh.
but they were there like kind of just listening, supporting celebration. What was celebration?
I'm thinking that, yeah, it might have been them commending you for, coming here and getting this information out
Oh
there
yeah. Mhm. Yeah,
because,
celebration like that, like it's like at the end of the life, maybe at the end of the life, at the end of this life, when this life is over, then going to be like Lyran, and then there will be a big celebration for
mhm,
me coming here, and like a all the things that the whole, because the whole team is involved, in this time, because it's me here, but I'm like holding this, but there's all these others, that are having to do with many realities too,
mhm.
and the clone realities and stuff. So it's like a big celebration after this life is over, and I mean, I was seeing it like a big gathering, like outside, and like a kind of like how I thought of like how Shrek was, Shrek the movie, the cartoon
Mhm.
movie, and
Yeah.
it's like when the celebration when Shrek and Fiona get married, like that kind of thing, but it's like a celebration kind of like that is what I thought of when that happens. It's like everybody's happy, that we it's like accomplishment that we all made it through, that we changed a lot of stuff, probably not having to, probably just like a big gathering, like a family reunion, That's how I kind of see that.
Yeah, and it might have been like, okay, here we're celebrating you accomplished what you wanted to do. So at the end of this life, like, yeah,
Mhm.
you've done what you wanted to do. You went down there and tried, and you opened up a lot of people awakening to this kind of stuff, help bring down the secret space program, all of that.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, going over reviewing, probably not reviewing during the celebration, probably that's like later, it's already known what was
Hmm.
done.
Yeah. I saw something similar where at the end of my life here, where there was a celebration of me as well. There was like a really big audience clapping, and I could see all these imprints all over my body of
Hmm.
it kind of looked like tattoos, but it was imprint. imprints on my soul, because it wasn't really my body, it was on my soul, of
Mm-hmm.
experiences of things I had done, and they were like medals, you know.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so it
That
was
is
like
cool.
yeah, it was like accomplishments, but I was seeing them as like imprints on my soul, all of these symbols, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So I feel like it's similar to what you
Yeah,
are
because
going to have.
you and me have had even experiences together, like at Montauk. So we'll probably be at the celebration. You know, you'll probably be there as well. You know, so I don't know when or what kind of thing that looks like. You know, at the end of the life, or maybe it's after completion of things, of after a group of people complete. You know, so
Right.
so I never know exactly what that will look like, but I know that we've had the experiences in Montauk and at the Mothers of Darkness stuff too. So, and for the SSP stuff. So, you know, we've overcome a lot of dark programming, you know, and so so that breaking out of that and then coming out, you know, and healing that is a big accomplishment, you know, so
It's a huge accomplishment, because
mhm,
a lot of people don't even want to look at all that stuff.
mhm,
It's shoved down, and just to come forward to you for a reading, to me for
yeah,
hypnosis, or whatever works for them, just to open it up so they can release it and heal it, you know. I've had
uh-huh,
people come to me who they've fallen out of the typical system of going to counselors or medical doctors or that kind of thing, because they're like, it doesn't work. And I'm
mhm,
thinking, well, a lot of times you go to a counselor and they just bring it to the surface, and it still just
yeah,
sits there. You know, it's
mhm,
not really finished out, you know. And I'm not going to criticize all counselors. I've gone to a couple who were really, really good, but there would be like one aha moment over
yeah,
after going through a year or two or more. You know, it's like, come on, you know.
mhm,
But the
yeah,
stuff was still there. It was still sitting there, you know.
yeah,
Do
because
you want
it's
to
the
talk?
surface stuff, you know? That's all
Yeah.
surface stuff.
Yeah, or they bring it to the surface and it's still sitting there. It's not really healed. It's like, well, what
Mhm,
do we do with it now to release it, you know?
mhm,
So, really let it go, and then move to a higher level of existing in this world. Like for you to move to an existence of like, okay, from now on, I'm going to bring in men who treat me well, they're respectful, and just
mhm,
all life circumstances where you've been held back due to like the SSP or anything else, you know?
yeah,
So, moving to a
mhm.
higher level of existing here.
Well,
Is
just
there any?
put more value on myself, or realizing my value or worthiness, you know, like just because all this time it's like feeling unworthy of certain, just people who say certain things, you know, and how they treat us and all that too. And then they make you feel unworthy, you know, after a time, you know, after spending time with certain people for so long, you know, then it's their own reflection though. It's not, it was never yours, but that's just them reflecting their inner self, their inner trauma and stuff, you know? So,
Right, right. Yeah, for sure. Um, it's really, I had
mm,
forgotten that you had like a Lyrian being come in, and that's really interesting, because I just did, so I did your session, I guess a week ago. I just did the session for Nicole Aubrey last night, and she had a
mm,
Lyrian being come in. And I'm
mhm.
like, oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
yeah. Star family then. Probably Star
Yeah.
family, you know? I'm sure it is. Our Star
And
family.
And I remember, I think I may have mentioned this to you, or I may have mentioned it to her, that when I was a child, I was like 9 or 10 years old. I had these books on drawing cats, like on drawing
Mm,
lions. And
mhm.
I would sit around doing this drawing and do a bunch of writing. And I don't even know where I got those books, because my parents were very poor. I mean, I'm talking like, where's the next meal coming from at some point? So,
Mm.
it's like for me to have books on drawing something was unusual. Like, where did they come from? They probably came from Goodwill. You know, they probably came from the
Oh,
thrift store,
yeah.
you know,
Garage
or
sale.
one of my siblings, because I had four older siblings. Somebody just had it, you know, laying around. I was getting always getting hand-me-downs, you know.
Mhm.
Um, but I was really into drawing those large cats, those
Mm.
lions.
Oh, wow.
So
I
I
mean,
always had,
do you feel
yeah.
connected with the Lyrans like you
Oh,
would be
yeah,
a
for
lion?
sure. For
Mm-hmm.
sure, I do. So I
Yeah.
always had that connection. Do you want to talk? And it was interesting how you said at the beginning of this that you have some connection with praying mantis, a little connection with reptilian.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I feel like a lot of people look at a whole species and say it's bad, and it's kind of like having a race here and here on this world and saying a whole race is bad. It's like so
Yeah.
some people look at ETs and say, "Oh, all reptilians are bad." It's like I don't know if I can see a whole species as
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah. Like saying
So
all dogs are bad, you know? Yeah.
yeah,
So,
all pit bulls are bad. It's like
mm-hmm.
really, I've met some really super sweet, pit
Mm-hmm.
bulls. So
Yeah, yeah. So
um,
it's just more people are unaware of that. That's all. It's just learning more about the different species and stuff too. So because a lot of it's just been hidden from us and or just as fantasy as well. And some people don't even look at it, so they don't really even care to look at it. So that too. So it just everybody's different how, like some people like cats and some people don't like cats and some people are allergic so they don't even want a cat, so everybody's kind of different in what they prefer to look at and if they've seen most people who have interaction with the reptilians, they've seen it their probably whole life, with during childhood and stuff, or have always been attracted to like dragons or drawing like the Godzilla, or anything like that to kind of have that
mhm.
that connection, that interest.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's interesting that people may be attracted to something like me to the lions as a child and
Mhm.
people to dragons as an adult. It's probably why that show that had dragons in it was so popular, for years.
Mhm.
And then there have been some movies for kids with
Yeah.
dragons in them as well,
Yeah, in the Marvel movies, those Marvel
Mhm.
movies, if you feel like drawn to some certain ones or the people who, whatever their abilities, then you might research more of that if you feel, like that, like something's resonating. Some people just fantasize and that's okay. However, they just brush it off as, oh yeah, sure, but it's not this reality that it's happening. It's maybe other realities, as in your clone bodies or so, or other star races that you are. That because we have Lyran aspects and Mantis aspects. We have all these aspects not on Earth. Just different galaxies and star systems and all that. So we're not just an Earth person. We have many aspects of ourselves.
Yeah, I think we've reincarnated in different places, and some of us may have not even been to Earth before. We may have a place that we prefer, like maybe you prefer incarnating where the Lyrians are and consider that more of a family, a
Hmm.
star family for you.
Yeah, there's
So,
many. I know I have many aspects. That's why
mhm,
there's many beings behind me because I've been all of those aspects.
mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I remember telling you that I could see these beings behind you, these two
Hmm.
beings, like one was taller and one was smaller, and I think it was the taller one who I had seen was kind of a little further back, kind of observing.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
the tall gray, possibly the
Hmm.
tall gray, and then the praying mantis is usually always helping me with like all the time.
Right,
Mm,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, Game of Thrones, that was the show. I couldn't think of the name of it. Like if I feel like if people are so attracted to the dragons and the excitements and kind of period shows, like Bridgerton is a period show that I'm really attracted to. And I think we probably spent time in those kind of realms, those kind of realities or lifetimes when we're so attracted to those things.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
I think some of those writers have been to those places in other lifetimes as well.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm. Yeah.
so what do you think about your session? Is there anything you'd like to go into with your session besides, so we talked about demanding men, but also, is there anything in Montauk that you'd like to discuss, or maybe with the brothels, those kind of things?
Um well, those both have demanding and dominant male figures, both of those
Mm-hmm.
places, so that's where it originates from, is these places. And I did have a flashback talking about Montauk with Brian Singh. He was doing an interview with me, and we was talking about Al Bielek, and he was at Montauk. And then I seen he showed a picture on the screen, and then I had a flash just then, a memory, and a new memory come up, and I saw Al Bielek had kept me. It was like the basement area, and then it was like the crawl space between the rock, and then the rock on the floor too, but then there was a crawl space that he kept me in, and it was like I was locked in there, and I could only lay flat on my back. And I saw him kneeling down and just saying stuff to me. He was very mind manipulating, and would say certain um like rhyming things too, things that I had to lay there and figure out, and then the guys, our handlers, like Arkeem and Joseph Powell, and Max Spears, they couldn't do anything about it when Al Bielek or Preston Nichols would do something to us, then they couldn't override it. They had to just step back and let it happen, so I might have been in that crawl space area. It was just like a cutout, it was made for that, like how the morgue has the box, the drawer.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
it's kind of like that, but it was like you're in, you can't move. It's like this close to your face. You cannot move. It's so claustrophobic. And I think that's why I get claustrophobic. You know, with in this reality, I do. I don't like to be like locked in a small space with other people, and I don't like to go in like the garages, the parking garages, the lower floor. I don't like that feeling and depressed feeling, and then I won't walk on um um the gutter, the drain, I won't walk on that metal grate thing, whatever, because I feel like it's gonna fall in, and then I'll be trapped in there. So feeling trapped in something is something that stems from being trapped in other places, so.
Yeah, that's exactly
Mhm.
what I was going to say when you were first describing it, is like, how could you not be claustrophobic? It sounds like being
Mhm.
in a coffin or
Mhm.
something. There's
Yeah.
a place, I think it's outside of New Braunfels in Texas. New Braunfels is a German town, small German town. But there's a place there where you can go caving. And instead of
Mm.
just going on a nice little caving tour, they have an extreme caving thing where you can go and you can like rappel down and you can crawl through areas, and
Yeah.
you have to sign a thing that says you don't hold them
It can,
accountable if you're hurt, because you're going down these hundreds and hundreds of feet, going
mhm.
down these
Mhm.
lines. And I thought, oh gosh, that sounds wonderful. I want to go do that. So I'll feel
Mm.
like I'm very fearless. But then there was a thing where it said, you may be crawling through very tight spaces that you can hardly fit through. And then I was like, no, I
Mhm.
can't do
Yeah.
that. So
I've
that
watched.
claustrophobia
Yeah.
came in. I was like, no.
Mhm. I've seen that
So,
where people crawl through they're exploring, and then they have to crawl in little cavern, like underground, like the
mhm.
mining area, and then they have to crawl in that little space, and and have a string, that leads them back. And I mean, there is no way I would do that at all. I would not get into that tight space. I wouldn't crawl into there because I feel like it will close in or collapse, and then I'd be stuck. So it's being stuck in that place, feeling stuck or trapped in a tight space, or you can't get out. Like you don't, there's no way out. So that is part of the programming, because they do say there's nowhere to run and no place to hide and no way out, and you are kept in a tight space like that, confined. And I mean, just that alone was like enough to, because that was a long time I was in that place. I remember, and I think that he probably kept us in that, because I don't know if other people are in, there's like little cubbies and stuff, if there's other people that are in those, but I don't think so, because I didn't hear anyone talking, when that memory came back. So I just seen him kneeling down to look down, my head. I couldn't see him. I just seen it in my mind of how he would be, like kneeling down and talking to me through that hole right there, like the thing. And he was just, I could hear his voice, just being manipulative. Yeah.
Yeah, it's, I could see how it just totally takes all of your power away where you just can't even move. You can't do
Yeah.
anything. You're just stuck
Yeah.
there.
Oh yeah.
So,
I think that's why I was kind of emotional this week too, because I was feeling that stuck energy, in that
mhm.
way where you can't get out of there. And when are you going to get out? And are you going to get out? And, like your mind just goes really fast thinking of everything, So,
I
yeah.
think there's something important to see how we're not stuck here. Like we allow that stuff to cause us to feel stuck, even though here we have more freedom than we know. Like that's staying in the back of your mind and your subconscious keeping you more
Mhm.
stuck here,
Mhm.
when you're really not as stuck here as you are there.
Yeah.
You've been conditioned to think you've still got some of that control that you really don't have here. It's like a conditioning they
Yeah.
do to us over there.
Mhm. And in memory that needed to be released, because that came out this week, so I hadn't had that ever before. So that's something that unlocked. And
Yeah,
he was dominating, Abilik was. He was really brutal. I also seen him with a turkey carver knife, electric knife, and he had
right.
on like a meat cutter's apron, and he would cut our limbs off in front of each other, just like carve your arm off, and while the
Mhm.
other kids watched. So he was like that.
I think the thing is they can like just torture us over and over and then just take our consciousness out and put us in another body,
Mhm.
and then
Mhm.
do whatever over again.
Mhm.
Um, I know in my book I talk about a story where my hand was injured, and I thought, why am I seeing my hand injured? Who cares when they're trying to carry me? Reptilians are trying to carry me on a ship, and
Mhm.
they were carrying me like kind of upside down, where my head was
Oh
towards the
yeah.
ground, and my hand was hurt. And I'm like, why am I seeing this? Who cares if my hand gets hurt a little bit? That's not the big picture. The big picture to me was like, oh, damn, they're carrying me onto a ship.
Yeah.
Well, it comes out to where they said, if you don't, they had me on a gurney, and they take me by an area where humans were just being killed for food, killed alive, just butchered alive.
Mhm.
And they said, if you don't come and help us with your psychic abilities, you're going to be back there and you're just going to be food because your hand is injured. So once someone's injured, we don't see you as like, do we want to give you medical care or not? We're not going to
Mhm.
give you medical care if you're not useful.
Mhm. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So you did
yeah.
help them?
Oh, yeah, I did.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that's why it started with me seeing my hand injured. I was like,
Mhm.
what does this matter? Why is this important? Well, then I found out later, why it
Mhm.
was important. So
Yeah.
yeah, I sure the heck helped them because I saw humans. They took me right by these humans who were being slaughtered alive.
Yeah.
You
Mhm.
know.
And they did do that at Montauk too. They fed
Yeah.
the reptilians, humans, that
Hmm.
they were discarded, maybe parts that they didn't want, that if they were useless to them, then they would just feed it to the reptilians that were there, so and then they would go get people off of the streets too and feed them to the reptilians at Montauk. So,
Yeah.
and they would
Well,
make us watch that, or see it like we was in that room, where the body parts were, and then they would just be eating those parts while we're laying there, and they're saying that you're next. So yeah, that's traumatic.
it is. And if they
Mhm.
would remove legs or something, I talk about this in my book too. If they would remove legs or something, they don't throw them away. They use them as food, when they're
Mhm.
creating super soldiers. So,
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Like they put another leg on them on the super soldier, and then they just throw away their original leg and feed it to the reptilians. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, because they aren't going to throw anything away. They're like, well, this is meat. It just
Mhm.
sounds
Yeah.
disgusting to us, but to them, they don't. A lot of them, and again, I'm not saying all reptilians or all of a species, will just see us like we're lower than a dog. We're just,
Like carnivores. They're carnivores.
right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We're expendable. There's always more humans around for them to
Mhm.
get a use out of. So. Um, yeah, anything else you would think that you would want to share about the programs or anything with your situation of your hypnosis before we close out?
Um, because I at the beginning, how I got emotional on the wedding part, was just um thinking like that was a happy moment for her. But it's just like little pockets of different realities, so it's observing, and so it's more of just seeing that this in this reality is one of those to view, and then that was another one, to view too. So it's just seeing the difference of experiences that uh, that you want to go into and look at and feel if you want to feel it, or just observe it from standing back, and just so you don't have to feel all of that, because you kind of get pulled into it too, because you're seeing it and asking them, if there's anything, whatever, and then so you just kind of see it happening, and then and that's okay too to feel it, that way it's kind of it meant a lot to the I guess it was supposed to happen like that, like where I got upset and stuff, that was supposed to be felt. So I could feel the difference between a happy family life and marriage and all that too, so I could feel that. Yeah.
Yeah, in hypnosis, we can tell people, okay, you can back away from it and be an observer. You don't have to feel any physical pain.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's good to, I think, have some of the emotions come out.
Mhm.
But I've told people before as well, you don't have to feel the emotional pain. But I actually had someone during a hypnosis say, "No, I got to feel all this," and I think it helps to kind of get it all out. So,
Sometimes, yep. Mhm. If they wanna feel it, then they can, and then if they decide that they don't want to, then they just can pull back and look at it from an observer,
mhm.
so, um, either way, yeah. It's helpful
Um,
for sure.
so Chicory Blue said, "I definitely hope there's a celebration for surviving all that you two have survived. Your achievements
Mhm.
in healing are amazing." So that's
Yeah.
great. Thank you.
Yeah, thank
Yes.
you. Mhm.
Yeah. Anything else you want to share before we close out? We appreciate you coming on and
Yeah.
sharing.
Yeah, thank you for asking me. Nothing really else, I don't think so. I mean, that we kind of went over um all the stuff. I mean, the memory of the session is coming back of mostly George Bush Senior is what I thought of, so I think I'm still processing and working through stuff. I don't know if he has other clone versions of me on other places, but I know that I'm connected to him on many other places. So, because I've seen him in like other lifetimes and then in the programs too. So I don't know. It's
Yeah,
connected. Think maybe
I've
bloodline or something like that.
Yeah, maybe a bloodline then, if you've seen yourself in several places. I know in
Mhm.
my book about super soldiers, the I saw a lot of the political figures in Antarctica. You know, there's like a
Mhm.
time travel machine that I see there where they will travel through time and have meetings. So someone like Reagan, who's already dead, I'm not saying Reagan was part of the programs, you know. I'm not going to throw out any names today, I guess. But
Mhm.
like someone like Reagan could travel through time and, you know, connect with someone like Kennedy or, you know, whoever, you know, they can
Mhm.
travel through time and meet because for them, they can do that. They can hop in the machine and travel through time, or they can move their consciousness into a clone and then go hide away
Yep.
in Antarctica or wherever else and still
Mhm.
be alive, you know?
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
yeah, or
Yeah.
regenerate. They can get into a machine and regenerate themselves. So there's different things that they're trying and they're doing, and it's interesting when we go deep into that kind of stuff. But for me, and I think for you and a lot of us, we just want to be free from it and not be their slaves anymore. We're slaves when we're pulled in there and kept and made to do things. So
Mhm. Yeah. It's like a job that never ends.
yeah, and we don't get any compensation for it. We're just
Mhm.
taken and
Nope.
used and
Yep. Mhm.
and then come out of it like with post-traumatic stress here,
Yeah.
trying to just go
Mhm.
through life and just go do a normal job and have a normal relationship with men and women, friends and children and everything. And it's so
Yeah.
that trauma is just sitting there, you know, buried. And when we're trying to have a normal life here, you know.
Yeah, I think
Um,
it affects our self-esteem and stuff in some ways,
mhm,
you know, and how we carry
yeah.
ourselves and present ourselves and think of ourselves and this self-sabotage and all that, you know, because we're really hard on ourselves for things that were just placed on us, you know. So,
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. All right. Yeah, my dad had given me when I was a kid, he was a trainer and a technical writer. He was a mechanic, car mechanic, and then he went to college and became a trainer and a technical writer when he was older, when he was like over 50, I think. And he gave me a picture of this elephant, and he said the elephants are trained when they're babies to be chained to a little bitty stake where they weren't able to get the stake out of the ground. And so even
mhm.
when they're huge and they can easily pull away, they've already had that conditioning, that training. I can't get away.
Mhm.
And so he gave me this picture of this huge elephant with a little stake chained to the ground. He's like, you got to remember you're not held back by these
Mhm.
things of the
That's good.
past, you
Mhm.
know? So,
Mhm.
and I think that's a good thing to, you know,
Yeah,
consider
it's
and look
good.
at.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
good analogy. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for coming on and sharing with us today. If anyone would like to contact Christy for a reading, she has her email there, and we'll have information in the description. Her readings are wonderful. She did a reading for me that she has online, and she's got just several other readings
Mhm.
online. And if
Mhm.
anyone would like to contact me for QHHT in person or Beyond Quantum Healing online, I'm having some really lovely, wonderful sessions with people like Christy. So.
Thank you. Mhm.
Thanks for
Thank you for doing
watching
that. Mhm.
and yeah, thanks for watching and thanks for coming on.
Thank
Bye.
you.